Morning, James.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. Good morning, Dennis in Aylesbury.
Good morning.
Morning. Right, James, first up then, reaction from you. Are you pleased or outraged at what the Prime Minister's done?
I am completely outraged. It's probably one of the most undemocratic things a sitting British Prime Minister has done in a long time.
Why is it so undemocratic? What's the problem?
Well, we're at a situation where we're about to leave the European Union, and where there's lots to get right, lots to discuss, and he's getting it, and now he's stopped Parliament from running. The whole point of the vote leave was to take back parliamentary sovereignty. He said it himself, and what's he doing? He's taken it away, and that to me is completely unacceptable and totally the wrong thing to do. And I've been a lifelong Conservative voter. I was living in London while Boris was the mayor, and I actually quite liked him then. And I thought he was a good London mayor and brought in some great things. Now, I have completely lost all faith and all trust in Boris Johnson and the current Conservative Party.
Dennis, do you agree with James?
I suppose the question one might ask James is he a Remainer or a Brexiteer?
James, that was a question for you.
Well, I'm quite honest. I voted Leave in the 2016 referendum. I even campaigned to Leave. I was part of some groups involved with that. And I felt as though I was completely misled on the facts, and have since. I have changed my mind, and I've become a Remainer now.
That answers your question, Dennis. Why is that important?
Well, I think a lot of what is being said is tainted, as anything that I might say, by your views on whether you're a Remainer or a Brexiteer.
Well, isn't this about democracy?
Well, democracy, we could ask the question. We were all promised us, that if we took part on the 23rd of June in 2016, the result would be held, and that's what would happen. But since then, any number of questions have been given by the Remainers to try to sort of sabotage the actual answer to the referendum.
Well, but hang on, Dennis. I mean, let's not get too bogged down in the nitty-gritty of it. But, I mean, if I could just point something out to you, we were told in the run-up to the referendum that if we voted to leave, the government of the day would then try and do a deal with the European Union. The government did a deal with the European Union, and lots of people, including your good self, said it was a rubbish deal and you didn't want us to sign up to it.
And without wishing to get bogged down in the minutiae, we were also told that if we voted to leave, one of the leading lights actually told us we'd have to have a budget within 7 days because we'd all be going to hell and high water in a handcart.
What do you think, though, of the fact that our parliamentary democracy, the parliamentary democracy that we rely on in this country, is going to be stopped by Boris Johnson's actions? If he suspends Parliament in this way, our parliamentary democracy will not be able to function in the way that it is designed to function. Does that not stink to you?
My main reason for wanting to leave Europe was everything to do with democracy. That's what I hold absolutely most dear. I wonder how much it will.
Well, then, how does Boris Johnson's, how do his actions sit with you then, from a democratic perspective?
As a pragmatist as well, because I really want to leave. I would also say, from my calculations, and they're probably wrong, we're actually going to lose a massive total of 3 days in Parliament. So I'm not sure that that's going to make a whole difference either way.
James, surely there is a perfectly valid argument to people such as yourself who are outraged now at what Boris Johnson has done, that MPs have had 3 years to make a decision on what they wanted to do about Brexit, and all they've done is say no to absolutely everything.
Well, that's part of the problem, isn't it? That we're in a situation where there are so many question marks over the 2016 referendum with the electoral law being broken and nobody doing anything about it. I think it needs to be taken actually back from Parliament and given the question back to the people. Is this what you truly want? And as far as a no-deal Brexit is concerned, that is something I definitely did not vote for. In the run-up to that, the 2016 election, all the politicians were saying, even on the Leave side, were saying, oh, we will stay in the single market, we will stay in the customs union. It's on record, it's on the big billboards, on the posters, that would be the case. And that was the reason I voted Leave. I thought, well, they're good things to stay into. I just didn't want to see further political integration within Europe because I thought that was maybe going a bit too far. And now we've gone completely the opposite way, and all common sense argument has left the conversation now, and it's become so fragmented that you're either very much in one camp or very much in the other. So the whole idea of debate and compromise, which I've since learned that EU stands for, has completely just been lost in this current parliamentary system.
Dennis, when you voted to leave, did you vote for us to tear up every single arrangement we had with the European Union?
Probably.
Everything.
I would say this.
So hang on a second. Hang on a second. Even though in the run-up to the referendum, we were told constantly by the politicians that were leading the Leave campaign that the EU would give us a great deal, that we had nothing to fear, that we would end up with exactly the same terms that we had before, all of those various promises, you ignored all of that and you said to yourself, I'm going to vote Leave and I want us to lose every single arrangement we have with the European Union. That was your objective, was it?
My objective would have been to leave with strength and then negotiate the things that we need and want. By the way, could I make one little point?
Do you think we'll be in a strong position to negotiate that if we leave without any deals at all?
I think so.
Why?
Can I just make one very small point, if I may? If we don't trust the the electorate in 2016, why would we want to put it back to the people and say we're going to trust them again? Because however you put it, you either trust them then, and that's fine, but why would you want to do it again? Are we saying that when we vote again, we will trust them, whereas we didn't before? Seems odd to me.
That's a valid point, isn't it, James? Why say that people like you made a mistake last time you voted, and yet the next time you wouldn't?
It's quite simple. Electoral law was broken during the 2016 election. All you need to do is look at the documentary The Great Hack and the Cambridge Analytica scandal that voters were targeted by the Leave campaign. It's on record. It's there. It's fact. They've been charged, but nothing has been done about it. And that, to me, stinks. So hence why I've changed my mind on it. And it beggars belief that why does democracy supposed to have stopped in 2016? I believe the country has changed its mind. I've changed my mind. There are many other Leave voters I know have changed their minds. And the Remain thing, I think we've just lost all perspective. I mean, and to think that coming out of the EU and being one single nation is a strong position to negotiate, I don't know, about 750 different trade deals that we have at the current time around the world at better terms is cloud cuckoo land, in my opinion.
Dennis, are you not a little concerned that we saw last night that thousands of people took to the streets to make it clear that they disapproved of this idea of suspending Parliament? And there are lots of people who are signing this petition. There are lots of people who are very angry, it would appear, today. But has it not occurred to you that that is absolutely nothing compared to what we will see if we leave the European Union with no deal at the end of October? Because you'll have a lot of people who do not want us to leave the European Union at all who will be livid. And you'll also have people like James who voted to leave but feels as if he was misled and he wants the ability to change his mind, being taken out of the European Union against his will. Does it not concern you that we will have an even more unhappy country at the end of October if we do leave with no deal?
Well, first of all, the unholy alliance of 2 nights ago or 2 days ago of the Liberals and the Labour Party and the Greens allegedly signing up for the no deal, against the no deal. It was nothing of the sort. What it really was another ploy to stop Brexit. So I tell you what I really think, then in answer to your question, I think that the unhappiness and whatever last night is nothing compared to what will happen if these people in Parliament finally get their way and prevent Brexit. I tell you what, if you think the poll tax riots were something way back at the end of Thatcher's term, that's nothing, I think, compared to what's going to happen if these saboteurs from Parliament get their way and prevent Brexit.
Let's use our language carefully, Dennis, rather than buying into
these
right-wing press terms.
Yeah, okay, these honourable saboteurs, if they get their way and block Brexit, then frankly, I can tell you now, I suspect people will go out on the street as never before.
Okay, but Dennis, does it not occur to you that we are now in a situation where it would appear there are two very angry camps, and that if we end up in a situation where one camp is delighted and the other is devastated, that whichever way that goes, you're going to end up with a country that is massively divided and half the country are livid?
I think you're right.
Okay,
but isn't
that something that everyone on both sides of the argument should recognise, and isn't that why some kind of compromise is the best answer?
I think you're right. Again, I can't. I have to say you're absolutely right. But to sign up to alleged all we're against is the no deal. That's nothing to do with what they're really signing up for. What they're really signing up for is to prevent Brexit. But you are right. We do need to find a way.
But you see, there are lots of politicians who would say that's just not right. You're buying into what you've been told by the Jacob Rees-Moggs of this world and the Nigel Farage. If I was to speak now to someone like Alistair Burt, one of our local MPs, he would tell you that he has voted on 3 occasions for us to leave the European Union based on the negotiated deal. And yet he would say that he does not think a no deal is a good idea for this country, and he would want to stop that no deal happening. What makes that the actions of a saboteur and not a reasonable person who happens to hold a view that's different to yours?
Well, I think history is telling us that, because for 3 years we've had every conceivable parliamentary ploy to prevent Brexit happening. We've watched.
But he's voted every time for the deal.
But it's never got through, which rather proves the point then.
Yes, but it hasn't got through partly because of people on your side of the argument, the ERG and the Conservative Party, those who want a very hardline Brexit, who said it's a rubbish deal, we're not signing up to it.
Well, as you know, I was never convinced about the deal. My understanding of it.
You said you didn't want us to sign up to it either. I remember the conversation, Dennis.
Yeah, you're right.
So how do we find a way forward through all of this? You know,
It's a bit like when you lean out of your car window and you say to somebody, "How do I get to Grimsby?" And they say, "You can't start from here." But we have got to start from here. We've got to start looking at this better. And you're absolutely right. We've got to find a way of compromising. Frankly, it's beyond my wit.
Well, it seems to be beyond the wit of everyone in this country, including the politicians, which I guess is why we're in the position we're in. James, Dennis, thank you very much indeed.